Welcome to Focus Mastery, an ADHD podcast for beautiful brains with bicycle brakes. If you're new here, my name is Chris Porter and I'm an ADHD coach, and I interview neurodivergent people like you and me, as well as other coaches, therapists, and professionals working to unlock the full potential of our mental capacity. In today's episode of Focus Mastery, I sat down with Arianna of adhDONE. She's an ADHD coach living in Costa Rica. As of this recording, she's got 98 YouTube videos sharing her story, journey, and advice for all of us. We chat about some of her favorite apps, why she loves some, and while others just stress her out. I really enjoyed what she had to share about productivity systems and how to pull together into a productivity ring that complements each other while making up for each other's weaknesses is the best approach. We had some laughs talking about spicing up your to-do list like you might your love life. Throw a little spice into your task list and have some fun. She was very open about her recent diagnosis of ADHD in 2021 and the 5 stages of acceptance she went through while coming to terms with her diagnosis. From disbelief and curiosity to radical acceptance and embracing what makes you who you are. Her advice? Well, you'll have to watch the video to find out, but she recommends skipping step 4 if you can. Anyways, really enjoyed chatting with her and hope you enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Arianna of adhDONE. Candidly, I already did this interview with you. For the last 20 minutes, we've been talking, and I forgot to hit record on Zoom. So earlier, we really hadn't gotten to talk to each other at all and just met from me reaching out to you on your YouTube channel. I was just super impressed with the content that you've been putting out there. And I was like, man, I want to talk to this gal and just learn more, because I'm an ADHD coach and I love having these conversations with other people that have just ADHD, with other coaches to learn what works for them, what are their struggles, that, you know, what does it look like for ADHD coaches to also have ADHD, you know, like that we don't have everything solved in our lives, that we're still
Not at all
going through things. I know that last time, 20 minutes ago, we were talking about productivity stuff, and I used something called Finisher Secrets that it's just got maybe 2, so my must do and then 2 maybe do's. And then it's got time blocking underneath where I can put certain things, like for today, I put, at 1 o'clock, I have a meeting with you. And so as I'm getting my just top things done, I can look at the time and say, oh yeah, I need to work on that. So I know we talked about productivity earlier, unrecorded, but I'd love to hear from you and just what has worked well for your productivity systems.
So lately I am still using Bright, which was a video or review video that I did recently. It has been working really well for me. It's kind of become part of my morning routine to, put stuff in there. And do I always get to it? No, but it's always nice to just kind of have it in a place where I can review what it is that I need to do and kind of get that straight. And I have been playing around on ClickUp lately. I keep coming back to ClickUp. ClickUp is kind of like a boyfriend that I keep like kind of breaking up with, because I'm like, you don't do it for me anymore. And then I start being like, what would be fun is if I had this, and then I sit down and I make something in ClickUp. And recently I've been, and I'll have a video kind of coming out to show people how to make this, because it's really not that difficult. But I've been having a lot of energy issues lately, and so I made something in ClickUp helping me keep track of like how much energy I have versus the tasks I have to do, so that I can make more informed decisions about what I should be putting my energy towards. So those 2 things have been working really well, but earlier you had referred to it as a flavor of the month, and more than likely within another month or 2 you'll be like, so what happened to the ClickUp system? You're like, oh, what ClickUp system? I don't know. It's just it's kind of fun to just be able to jump from idea to idea to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting, so that I'm making sure that I am paying attention to things. So that's basically what's going on with me. Yeah.
And as we talked about earlier, it's really a feature, not a bug, that we are adaptable, that when a system is getting boring, that we just switch to a new one. I've gone through, David Allen's Getting Things Done and the Pomodoro method, and now I'm doing finisher secrets, but then there's like the autofocus method. And yeah, I think even that process of doing something and then it works for a while, and then if I get bored with it, that giving myself permission that it's okay to just do something else and just bring over the few most important things and let everything else just kind of die and throw it away, or save it for posterity. But
yeah, or not even let it die, like it could be something that you wind up coming back to later on down the road, where you say, you know what, I miss doing the Pomodoro method, or what this new method I'm doing needs, it just needs something like X, Y, and Z that I did a month ago. There's nothing wrong with kind of moving around and seeing what works, because let's face it, there is nothing out there that is going to 100% meet your needs. It's the best you could probably get in most cases is something that's going to meet to like 90 to 95%. And most of the time you're going to wind up building what I call a productivity ring, which is where you're going to wind up having about 2, no more than 3, but about 2 or 3 different things that kind of all work together to give you all that you need. So it's totally and completely okay to kind of, I feel like I'm making this sound like dating, so maybe I kind of am, but it's okay to like, play the field a little bit to figure out what works for you. Like, it's okay when you're doing that with your life partner. It's totally and completely okay to also do that with your productivity methods. And the great thing about the productivity methods is you never have to get married to just one. So, go with whatever works, man. It's totally and completely okay. There's nothing morally reprehensible or wrong about going with what works for you, as long as it's not hurting anybody. You don't have to be matching up with what everybody else is doing, and that's something that we really need to unlearn.
I love the picture that you put in my head of spicing up your productivity system, like throw some lingerie on it. It was like, oh, that's hilarious. Like,
well, that's true.
So I saw my to-do list with like something like lacy on it. It's like,
yeah, lacy, like with some like Kenny G playing in the background. That's how you make it work, right? You do whatever you can to make it interesting. It's important.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you were mentioning some productivity apps, and I know one of your videos, or maybe even a series of videos that you've done reviewing different apps. What are you finding that you enjoy, or maybe some I don't know of lots of apps that I found that work for me, so I'm just curious, like what has worked well for you?
I mean, it's always going to be different for every single person, but I feel like there are a few things that are very important for every app. I feel like, for one, apps need to integrate. I think that if your apps don't integrate with anything, or if they only integrate with one type of thing, that can really be an issue. A lot of us, we are the kinds of people who really need to be able to see what we need to remember. We can't just be told once. That just doesn't work. And so having, and this is nothing against anybody who loves paper journals. I love paper journals. I never finish them, but I love them. But the thing is, if you have like a paper planner and you have a whiteboard, that's all well and good. But if you don't have a way to integrate that into your daily routine for when you're out of the house or when you're not looking at it, you're going to forget things. And so a lot of the apps that I have fallen in love with are apps that work specifically with calendars, Google Calendar, iCal, that are going to update when you update them. I like apps that gamify but don't take it too far. Like if it's one that's giving me achievements, I like those. I'm not a huge fan of ones that are like, you're a little character in a imaginary world, and every time you get something done, you're gonna, I don't know, build up XP to fight the dragon.
What's the one? Is it Forest, where like as you get tasks done, you like plant a little tree and it grows?
Yes. And I'm not a fan of that one, only because I have to be on social media a lot for what I do. And one of the things is like, if you open your phone before you're supposed to, it kills the tree. And I'm like, I don't,
Okay.
I'm very good. I with anxiety as it is, I don't need more being like, but I have to get online to do this thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kill a tree. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
that. But that kind of gamification can work. It can. Another one that I really liked that kind of did something similar to that was a game called Finch. And Finch was more of a self-care app, but it had the same concept where you had like this little like penguiny birdie type character, and your job is to basically grow it. It's almost like a Tamagotchi, but the way that you grow it is by taking care of yourself and checking in and saying, yeah, I meditated today, or yeah, I did this thing that I set on my list today, or whatever, gaining points and helping this little bird to go on adventures where it learns things and it grows and you earn points, and that's cute. It's great. Like, but but just for me personally, I already have 2 kids. So the idea of having to keep 2 kids, and you probably saw my 2 dogs walking around, and I also have a cat. I don't want to take care of anything else. I don't want to be responsible for keeping anything else alive. All right. As it is, if I screw up, there's a possibility that like 5 things could die in my house. I don't need anything else. That being said, if it works for you, go for it. Not a fan myself, though.
Cool. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, I'm still a little sad that we lost some of that conversation a little bit ago, because I feel like we were on a roll, but I'm still enjoying this. And I have my corgi is down here at my feet. I'll switch for the people watching this later. They can see my corgi. So they're
cute.
great. Their little butts just wiggle.
I know.
They're just fun. So I know I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 6 years old, and you were sharing earlier that you were diagnosed. I think it was 2021. Is that right?
2021. I was 35 years old. 35.
Wow.
So already had my 2 kids. We were in the middle of moving down here. So yeah, I found out late. That isn't to say that there weren't signs, but you know, when I was growing up, when we were growing up, we're in the same generation, I believe. I was less likely to be seen as ADHD. I'm a girl, right? I had a penchant for daydreaming, zoning out. And when we were growing up, ADHD was still a troublemaker's disease. It was still a boy's disease. It was still a loud disease, right? Like the worst that I ever got was that I talked a lot. But I'm a girl, of course. Girls talk a lot. Women just, gab, gab, gab. That's what they do, right? So it was one of those things where that wasn't much. It wasn't enough to tip anybody off. Even as I went through school, driving my mother and teachers nuts because I would do my homework and forget to turn it in, or I would start my year out with like a really clean backpack, and then after about a month, it was just stuffed with papers and things that I forgot to bring home to my mom. Even with that happening, it never occurred to anybody that I might have ADHD. And there is also, I'm going to say, there's that, and then there's also, I'm going on a side rant here, but ADHD, it is what it is. There is also a modicum of ableism, I think, with ADHD diagnosis. Not so much now, but there was when we were kids. I was a gifted and talented kid. I was, one of those kids that they used to put into classes called things like alpha and, whatever, and gifted and GAT and stuff like that, where it was like, we did puzzles all day, right? Because you're the smart kids. And so it was assumed that there could not be anything, quote unquote, wrong with me. Since I was smart, since I was advanced, obviously you can't be ADHD, because that would mean that you were slow, or that you're not smart, or that you're not, and ADHD has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with IQ. It has everything to do with just how you process things in the world.
Yep.
But back then they didn't see it that way. So, it's kind of unfortunate, but it took me 35 years before it was starting to be accepted as something that really could be anybody's disorder. And that gave me, I think, more of a fighting chance.
So I'm new in my coaching journey, and you've been doing this for definitely longer than I have. Um, Earlier, I asked about like what your vision for YouTube was, but I kind of want to just put the lens of like, as an ADHD coach, like what do you want to tell people that have ADHD, maybe if they're newly diagnosed?
I mean, if you're newly diagnosed, the number one thing that you have to realize, because I made the same mistake, and again, going back to the stuff that we talked about earlier, I have mentioned before, I mentioned then that I like to joke that ADHDers go through 5 separate phases, right? We go through that first phase. Phase 1 is where we're like, I don't have ADHD, like, and it's usually followed by something that is absolutely non-factual. Like I can pay attention to video games, so obviously I can't have ADHD, right? Or I'm really tired, I don't move around a lot, so can't be ADHD because I'm not hyperactive, which is also not true. And that's phase 1. Phase 2 is essentially where we start really hearing a lot of stuff that kind of starts making us think, well, maybe I do. But at the same time, what difference does it make if I know? It doesn't make any difference whether I know. Either I know or I don't, but like, it's not going to change my life. I'm not having any issues. It's not causing any problems for me. Then phase 3 is where we finally break down, we get the diagnosis, and then we really kind of start going through. It depends on the person. You can go through anger at what could have been if somebody had caught it earlier. There are feelings of relief because now you have an answer for why some of the weird things that are going on in your brain are happening. But you kind of are going through this getting to know yourself again phase. And then you have phase 4, which is where I kind of came onto the scene. And that's essentially where you make the mistaken impression that now that you know that you have ADHD, you can figure out how to turn that into something more neurotypical. Well, now that I know that I have ADHD, how do I jerry-rig this so that I can do it what everybody else does, or do it the way everybody else does? How do I hack this or change it to make it more normal? And admittedly, I was not that blatant. I was not like, hey guys, welcome to my channel where I make you more normal. But there were things that I definitely said that I don't agree with anymore. Like the concept, for example, of not starting multiple projects at once. I think that is, for some of us, the way we feel whole, the way we feel normal. And I, in the beginning, was like, hey, here's how to stop doing that. Like, here's how to stop doing this thing that maybe makes you feel like a human being. You know what I mean? And I am now at that 5th phase. I'm at that 5th phase of realizing, like, my point is not to try to fix ADHD or to try to figure out how to turn this ADHD into something that is palatable to palatable, I don't know, that everybody else can enjoy. It is not about being like everybody else. It's about now understanding how I do those things and figuring out how to fit it into my day in a way that satisfies me. And
I love that.
And in doing that, you're going to find that you accept yourself more. So to the people that have just been diagnosed, I'm going to tell you right now, if you can, skip step 4. Okay, skip phase 4. Don't feel like you have to be like, okay, well, now I'm in this, even if you're working in a job where everybody has to do the same thing, that does not mean that you have to do it the same way that everybody else does it. Skip straight to, all right, my brain works weird, but I'm going to figure out how to roll with that to make it so that this weirdness is making a world for me that works for me. And you'll find that it'll wind up working for everybody around you too when you're a happy person. When you're not a happy person, everybody else can also tell that. So yeah, that would be what I would tell people who have just recently been diagnosed. I wish somebody had told me that, but they didn't. So here I am to tell you that.
That is fantastic advice. That is great.
I hope it helps.
Yeah. So if people wanted to reach out to you, or connect or hire you, like, what are the best ways that they could get in touch with you?
So my website is youradhdone.com. That's where you can reach out to work with me. I do still have some one-on-one spaces available. My channel is called adhDONE. You can find that on YouTube. And if I could just go ahead and plug this real quick, I also am running a digital summit in September. It is called the Chase the Chaos Summit. It is for ADHD women or multi-passionate women, people who have lots of interests, lots of hobbies. We're basically trying to expel the stigma that you have to be just one thing and that you have to define yourself by just one thing. And we're trying to make it make the world one step at a time more welcoming to people who want to do multiple things. And I will say this, men are welcome, but we might be talking about like periods and stuff, so if you're going to be one of those people who's like, oh, then don't come. But if you want to be there, you're more than welcome. I think everybody needs a place to be comfortable, and this is how I'm building mine. And you can either find tickets at YouTube. I will send you the link for the tickets if you want to go ahead and share that, or you'll also be able to find it at my website. So that is also something that you can do, and I will be there. I won't be speaking, but I'm emceeing, so you will definitely still be able to see me there.
Awesome. This is so great getting to chat with you. I love getting to connect with other people that have ADHD, especially other coaches that aren't kind of bound by those like shame chains or like trying to like should on you, like, oh, you should do this or you should do that. It's like, no, like that's not the case. So
we don't do well with shoulds. Leave us alone with the shoulds. All right, just let me do me. Leave me alone. Yes, absolutely. And this has been a lot of fun too. It was awesome getting to meet you. It's kind of funny getting to meet you for the first time being recorded, but it was nice. It was good. I enjoyed it, so that was nice.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I'll probably make this a regular thing, so I'll email you again, and we can just kind of make this a circuit every maybe quarter or something like that, and
anytime,
just get to
man.
Anytime.
Awesome. I would love to, and you know that the way that our brains work, I'll probably be into something completely new by then, so we'll have something else to talk about. That would be great.
Fantastic. Well, hope you have a good day, and thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.